Hello, everybody. It is Thursday, April 18th, 2019, and they went live pretty quickly there, huh? I am Chris Phillips. Welcome to DNH TV. On today's show, we are going to be talking about workstations, what you need to know to sell some workstations, the differences between workstations and normal PCs, and generally talk about that topic and answer any questions that you may have. Joining me today from Lenovo, I have Mike DiScipio, Channel Manager.
Thank you.
And from our DNH Lenovo team, I have Justin Gingrich. I was so worried about your last name, I forgot about your first name. He's part of our Lenovo DNH specialist team. If you have any questions or comments or anything you would like to add to this discussion throughout the live presentation and you're on Facebook, there's a chat window on the bottom. Go ahead, feel free to ask questions, add comments. We're here to interact with you and answer anything you might have or kind of add you to the conversation as we can. But to get started, about a year ago, we did a webcast on Lenovo Workstations here on the Solutions Lab. In that webcast, we covered a lot of general questions. So if you haven't had a chance to see it, I recommend after this presentation, go ahead and look at that on DNH's YouTube page. But I want to get started with you guys today with a very general question. What is a workstation? What makes it different than any other normal PC?
Right. Maybe we can put the slide.
You want to? Okay.
Just for the
viewers.
Go ahead. So yeah, a workstation is essentially a powerful computer designed specifically to run technical or scientific applications, which is a growing need in today's marketplace with things like artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality. So we're seeing the need for higher end computing power that go far and above beyond what you're used to in a typical PC. So essentially, if you're a regular salesperson doing Word and Excel, a PC will suffice. But if you're looking to do any kind of creation or quantitative computation, you're going to need the horsepower that's under the hood of a workstation. And Lenovo is the right product to do it with. We're actually the fastest growing workstation in the marketplace for the last 2 years. So
I'm glad you talked about the power, because that's the next point I wanted to bring up. How do workstation systems differ on a hardware side than a standard PC that people might be using for their Outlook and just general day-to-day office work?
The main differentiator is the GPU, or graphics processing unit, processor unit. We work solely or exclusively with NVIDIA, which we believe are the high-end, the Quadro cards, right? I know a lot of people think they can do it with their gaming cards and their gaming PCs, which may or may not work, but they're not certified. So the key for our workstations is that they're certified by the manufacturers of the key software manufacturers, which we'll get to. So they're tested and they work out of the box. And we have some software features that will optimize those software packages. So it all starts with the NVIDIA Quadro card as the main differentiator. And then typically a workstation will have a little bit more RAM, 16 to 32 gig, or optimum, or the sweet spot for RAM.
And the RAM is a little different. It's usually the ECC memory, not the normal one.
If you're going with Xeon processors, then obviously, definitely ECC memory, error correction. We need highly quantitative calculations. There are potential opportunities for error in the memory, which would change your output. So we recommend if you go with the Xeon, obviously you go with the error correction memory, but you can get highly productive with an i7. Core i7 is very functional if you're working with single renderings and single jobs at one time. An i7 is certainly sufficient, and it'll save you some money. But if you're doing multiple jobs and multiple renderings at one time, we recommend you go with Xeon processors. You can even put in multiple hard drives and you do RAID control with the VROC, the RAID on the motherboard by Intel. So those are typically the defining characteristics of a workstation over a PC. And really, at the end of the day, it's all about speed to market. Right? So if it's kind of like if you take a compact car to the hardware store to load up lumber, it's really not the optimum solution.
That's what I was doing for years until I got my SUV. That's what I was doing for years.
It's speed to market.
It wasn't great. It didn't work great.
Yes, exactly. So time is money, right? And you got highly paid engineers, or if in the oil and gas industry where you're doing a lot of calculations to figure out where to drill, time is money, and that's where the extra horsepower in the GPU are really going to make a difference.
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because the webcast we did last year, we actually show a great example of doing some of those high computation GPU processes on just a standard, a basic i5 card with
Right.
the standard video card, and then going into a workstation with a Xeon ECC memory,
Right.
the proper Quadro card, and kind of showed like at what point does those entry-level PCs become too basic for the job.
Right.
And as we added layers of complication onto it, we were getting to the point where we had a 2-second render that was taking about 10 seconds on the fully fledged workstation and upwards of 2.5 minutes on the smaller
Right.
system. So if you extrapolate that out across, I don't know, 30 seconds, if it's a
Right.
30-second commercial or minute commercial, you can imagine the amount of productivity that's lost just to rendering.
Right.
And not only that, you're pounding on a system
Right.
for like an i5 or an i7 for longer periods of time
Right.
that it's not really designed to do, and that starts to
Right, it creates a lot of heat.
Creates a lot of heat.
And when you have a lot of heat, you tend to cause system failures, and which even produces more downtime. So all of our workstations are optimized with tri-channel cooling, in Lenovo specific designs to make sure we channel the heat away from the processors. So they're optimized to make sure that they could run 24 hours a day.
Okay, so we talked about, gave a little bit of some examples of what workstations are used for.
Right.
Can we go into some other examples
Yeah.
of who uses workstations, what verticals they go
Yeah,
into,
that'd be
what
great.
programs?
Yeah, let's show the
go ahead.
viewers what
So a general idea of who uses workstations right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, typically mechanical engineers, that's what comes to mind. AutoCAD,
Yeah,
SolidWorks,
that's one of the
Revit,
examples
right?
we use.
Those
Yep.
are probably the most popular thoughts that people have. But you're seeing video editors, it could be Pixar or those type of companies, geologists, physicists, that are folks that are in the oil and gas industry where they're doing a lot of quantitative algorithms to calculate where to drill for oil. That's a GPU
That's
function
interesting.
that you
Yeah.
definitely need, because a PC is not going to be able to get you the results in a reasonable amount of time. Even in the medical field, we're seeing tremendous amounts, of these things inside of X-ray machines and so forth. Now we're seeing OEMs building, the workstation under the hood of a GE or medical, MRI machine, X-ray, and so forth. So it's really where people are looking for productivity, and it's not that much more money to get that
Right.
productivity.
Yeah.
So some of the software that we talk about that we're certified to work with would be the SolidWorks, the Autodesks, McKesson in the medical world, Schlumberger, Avid for video editing. So right out of the box, our machines are tested by those manufacturers, and the NVIDIA GPU is tested also to work with those manufacturers and to make sure that they work out of the box seamlessly. So again, in closing, the biggest 6 verticals, I think it's 6 or 5 verticals that we have to look at is engineering and architecture,
Yep.
right? Especially with the virtual reality that people are looking, to render the things that they're going to do in construction,
huge
right?
right now.
Media and entertainment. If you go back to Pixar in '95 when they made the Toy Story movie, right? It was early video editing. 10 years later, the Cars movie comes out, and it's using actually what they call ray tracing by NVIDIA. Now, Lenovo is the only manufacturer today that is selling the Quadro, the RTX cards for ray tracing, which is a higher level of it follows your pupil or your retina to view the light in all the refractions and reflections of light in a more natural, instant, way, which is something that is revolutionary, right, for video editing, because it cuts a ton of time out. You don't have to manually go off and do the rasterization process to try and get the light reflections. And then medical and finance. The finance folks especially, we have a small model that we're going to show in the next slide, the P620, our 620 model. I'm sorry, the P330 with the 620 graphics card in it.
I can go ahead and go
let's
to
do that.
because that kind of leads me to my next question. We kind of talked about now use cases. What does Lenovo's portfolio actually look like in the workstation world?
So we can see here that on the low end, the P330 model comes in 3 flavors, 3 form factors. The Tiny is extremely popular, especially with higher ed, students that are learning CAD. This is a great device,
and you
for
can
a
still
low
get
price point,
that
under
one with a
$1,000.
Quadro card
It's got
too.
a Quadro 2 gigabyte memory on it, so it's great for single jobs or processing. It's also great for video for doing the 6 displays at one time, right? So if you're doing digital signage, for example, retail outlets and so forth, or fast food chains are using these to run 6 independent displays, 4 of them at 4K. So that's a highly powerful device. That is the P330 Tiny for under $1,000 to be able to do that. Finance folks are using it to calculate,
Yeah, we get a lot of people that ask, hey, I need to do 6 displays, like you do in digital signage. No, spreadsheets. I'm like,
Right.
oh, I don't even want to. Even want to know.
So that's a huge seller. But then you get into the small form factor version of the 330, and then even a full tower. You start getting into the 520 series when you start looking at Xeons. Those are the mid-range machines, as you can see.
Yep.
So for folks that are doing, and all of them are professional grade. You can do per function, but you start to climb the stack, and you start being able to put higher end GPUs inside and more memory and more expandability to actually speed up your production. Lastly, I just want to say the mainstream, the two high ends, the 720 and the 920. That's where you're talking about dual processor machines and multiple GPUs that you're throwing into these things for high end. Where you're throwing a lot of computation at these devices.
The one thing I notice when going through the product category is if the people that are used to selling servers and the server hardwares, you're starting to get, when you get into the higher end workstations, they're actually running a lot of server grade components.
Yes.
And that's primarily because these workstations are being hit so at such a high level as long periods of time. That's
absolutely. It's like having a server at your personal disposal, and you can rack these things. I mean, you can certainly rack them, but it's giving you the server power at the individual desktop, for the users, right? So tremendous amount of power, and again, it's all about speed to market, right?
Cool.
So you don't want people can try to do these on smaller personal computers, and you're going to be spending probably 6 times as long, right?
Trust me, when I started video editing, I was doing it on a system that was not designed to do video editing,
and
it was
waiting.
Painful.
You're waiting.
So to put that in a business a sense, if you're putting devices into these specialist hands that need the extra power of a workstation, but you're trying to chimp back on the hardware side, you're going to lose that much money in productivity within the first week.
Time is money, right?
Exactly.
So go ahead.
Let's move on to the mobile side of things as well.
Yes, the mobile side. So now you're getting into the legendary ThinkPads that everybody knows Lenovo for. And we currently today have 4 models of ThinkPads that are in the mobile space. So if you're a serious engineer that is doing a lot of CAD work and time is money, and those are, you're going to look at the P52 15-inch or the P72 17-inch. Those are the 2 workhorses in the group. Those are both VR, virtual reality ready. So those are the machines for the serious professionals. But then if you look at a P52S, which is what I'm actually using here, for folks that are doing some light work, or they could be teachers. A lot of teachers buy the P52S for if they're doing CAD training and so forth, or a lot of students. The P52S is a great option for them. It's got a quad-row P500 in it, which is entry level. It can do smaller jobs, no problem, and it's a thinner and lighter machine. So the 52S means slim versus the P52. And then the P1 is our latest and greatest. It's the thinnest and lightest workstation out in the marketplace. So the P1 is a great CAD machine, all right, for folks that are highly mobile and they want the ultimate in portability at about 3.7 pounds. The P1 is the go-to for that. So it's a game changer. And then we have some new models coming out this year, so in some convertible and 14-inch form factors. So those are in the works. But yes, right now, that's pretty much the landscape, and we address all the points of the market with those.
As a practical example, on the P50 series, we were using an older model. I think it was just the original P50 in a K-12 demo where a teacher had a ThinkPad P50, and they were using it to drive Minecraft for education, to kind of walk their students through this giant model of an eyeball. Where if you're doing that on a normal laptop that didn't have that GPU, that would not be as good of an experience. But then they were also being able to take that model, give them the Windows augmented reality goggles, put it on, and then they could put that model onto the desk and go around and things of that nature.
You definitely need a GPU for that. Otherwise,
you need the extra little power.
The frame rate isn't going to keep up, and you're going to have all sorts of lag and problems, and the productivity goes out the window. So yeah.
So does Lenovo? We've talked a lot about just hardware. Let's talk about on the kind of the software side on these Lenovo systems. Is there any technology that Lenovo is using to help optimize these workstations for the use cases they're being put into?
So all the Lenovo machines that we talked about today, from the lower end, entry level, all the way up, come with the Lenovo Performance Tuner. So what that is it's a tool, the software tool that will optimize. So if you're using SolidWorks, you can click on the SolidWorks icon, and the machine will automatically tune itself. It's been tested by the manufacturer, the SolidWorks, which Dassault, right? They've tested it and optimized it.
One or the other.
Right, or it could be AutoCAD, it could be Revit, it could be any of these folks, right? So, or McKesson. So these machines are tested by those manufacturers, and then we get the settings that they believe are the optimum settings to run the workstation, and then it's at the user's fingertips to just click whatever software they're using, the machine, the GPU, will process the memory allocation, the whole system will adjust itself to optimize so that it's certified to work, and it won't fail. That's the most important part. When folks try to do it with Titan cards and other good gaming cards that are out there, they may or may not have a seamless experience, but it hasn't been tested and certified by the manufacturer. So anybody that's in the professional world, they're not going to go over here and buy a gaming video card or GPU, right? They're going to stay over here, and that's the main difference that we want to let people know. You really need to stay within the certification. If you're serious about productivity, you want to go with a machine that's tested by the actual manufacturer of the software.
And it goes without noting, even on the consumer graphics cards that are designed for gaming, those aren't designed to be pounded on for 8 hours a day. When you're talking about a Quadra card, you're talking about something that's been certified by these software manufacturers to work on their product 8 hours a day, 16 hours a day. And when you have a performance tuner like this, chances are, we've talked at the top of the show, a workstation is usually designed to do one task. And having a performance tuner that can to tune that system to do that one task just sets it miles apart from anything else.
It's straight from the manufacturer of the software telling you this is the setting that you should be running at. So it takes that, it does that for you, right out of the box. So
cool.
Yeah.
Justin, you've been quiet the entire show.
I do have a couple questions that we got through
here.
Here whenever you're
What's
ready
up?
for it. You might be able to speak on this a little bit.
Sure.
But somebody asked why Lenovo doesn't use the click-in, basically the mechanical style.
The docks anymore.
Yeah, correct. Because we did move to mostly the...
we moved to the Thunderbolt dock, and it gives us more versatility to plug in multiple machines and go with I mean, that's just based on customer research that for us to produce something, we do extensive research and what the marketplace actually wants. So the Thunderbolt docks that are not the click-in, those are the ones that the marketplace has preferred, and that's now it's not everybody. Obviously, some people want to click in, but so we build based on what we think the market wants and what the market supports, and
they take up less space too.
They take up less space,
another big thing because that's what we all use now. Our desks, so they still charge the machines and do all that.
So to be 100% honest on the click it in thing, when I got my dock here at D&H, I was given the USB-C brick, and I was very against it until I realized the freedom that not having my laptop tethered to that dock and still you being able to use it in a docked environment provided
you can take the dock much easier.
I can set it. My setup is now laptop, 2 screens. I have 3 screens. If I have a dock in front of me, that's difficult to do. So yeah, I get where some of our customers are coming to from. It's frustrating that product that they've been using for years and years and years has gone away. But as technology has progressed, I think.
Less desk space. Yeah. It's just we're heading where we think the market or what the feedback that we've gotten.
And
but
the bricks
again, it doesn't cover everybody, but it covers most of the market.
Any other questions?
We did have one where they wanted to know a little bit more about the difference between Windows 10 Pro and Windows 10 Pro for workstations.
Yes. I can handle that one.
Okay.
So, and we'll go back to what we talked about at the beginning of it. We actually did a webcast on Windows 10 Pro for workstations about a year ago. It's on D&H. It's on D&H YouTube page. So if you go to YouTube and look for D&H, we will also have a link somewhere where we can send to you, where I kind of go into the differences between Windows 10 Pro and Windows 10 Pro for workstations. And I'll really sum it up with this. There are features in Windows 10 Pro for workstations that help optimize the operating system to work in a Xeon system with ECC memory and things of that nature. But one of the primary differences is on the licensing side. If you are now creating a new OEM workstation or you're now buying a Lenovo workstation, Microsoft's licensing requires you to be running Windows 10 Pro for workstations. So basically, the breakdown is if Microsoft sees you have a system with a Xeon in it, they're now requiring that you run Windows 10 Pro for workstations. If you don't have a Xeon in it, you're free to run Windows 10 Pro. That's just a licensing, that's just Microsoft being finicky with their licensing. But I will say there is back-end research and development Microsoft has done for Windows 10 Pro for workstations to run better in the workstation hardware. So that's the general gist of the question. If you want more details on it, go ahead and click that webcast from prior, and we can that'll answer all of your questions and hopefully some more.
All right.
You had some details on a Lenovo promo, correct?
Yes, starting today until the end of the month, we're actually offering buy 10 P-Series workstations, and we will give you the 10th one for free. So basically,
Cool.
buy 9, get
buy
the
9,
10th
10,
one
get
free.
10.
Up to $1,000 is the max discount that we can give on that. But yeah, it's a great promo.
I'm sorry, workstation and desktop?
Yeah.
Either one. Or, I'm sorry, laptop or desktop?
Correct. Yep,
Right.
yep,
Cool.
Yep, absolutely.
So you can buy like 9
Can you mix-
workstation laptops, and they get that P20 tiny free.
Correct. If you want to split, we could do it like that, as long as it's all in one order. It's
Cool.
Basically, yeah. So
And that's stackable with current Lenovo pricing programs?
With the volume discount.
With the volume
correct,
discount and
absolutely.
any other pricing that's been applied?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can you mix and match desktop?
As long as it's
right?
we're pushing for the one order,
Yeah.
but as long as it's on the one,
the one order?
I would say we could go.
All right, cool. Well, I'll also say that myself and my teammates in the Central and West, we work hard to enable the business partners, the D&H partners. So if you have opportunities with end users that you think a workstation might be a fit, we'll certainly come out and either joint call with you, or we'll give you seed units for them to usually when people get these things in their hands and use them, it usually sells itself.
Yeah.
So we're here to enable, right? So if you need a PC to bring to your end user let them play with for a while, or if the opportunity is large enough to keep, we'll do that, right? So Lenovo is we're making a big splash in the space. Historically, if you go back a couple of years, Lenovo really didn't have a big business unit dedicated to workstation. It was out there, but there's been a tremendous focus from top down. We've brought in some executives to help drive this business, and again, we're growing at a tremendous rate. We're really the fastest growing in the marketplace, and we have visions of not stopping anytime soon. So, I said, bring us into the opportunities.
When you think about the market in general, you're seeing a lot of the smaller resource tasked processes starting to move to the cloud.
Yeah.
Your Office 365 kind of moving all that stuff to the cloud, making it really easy to have a very low power device to do your day-to-day operations.
Yeah.
But you still don't have a tangible way to take the software that is running on these workstation systems and take that hardware and move it to the cloud effectively. So we're starting to see workstations become more and more important because you simply can't translate that hardware to the cloud yet.
And there are some cloud solutions in the workstation space that compete with hardware, but I had just a recent customer that bought $800,000 in workstations last year. They didn't buy them this year because they were the end user was trying the cloud solution, and it's not working out the way they wanted it. So they're coming back to the hardware. So I think a lot of people really prefer in this industry, in this space, prefer to have their hardware still in front of them.
Yeah,
so.
it's a different way to think about doing business, and it's a different way of thinking about using your system on a daily basis. So it's a different way of thinking.
Absolutely.
Mike, Justin, thank you. One more thing.
Yeah, I just want to mention, Mike did a great job of putting on the benefits of Lenovo. Now I have to tell you at least one huge benefit of D&H. We actually offer configuration services here.
Yes, we do.
So if you get a machine that has a 16, we can put an extra 16 gigs of RAM in there. We can add the hard drives. It's a great value. It's a great upsell for the reseller to sell the end user.
Right.
We can do it all right here and ship it right to the end user.
That's
Right.
important.
We don't have to do CTO.
That is important.
Absolutely.
Traditionally, people love the CTO, and Lenovo traditionally will do those. But it's really much better from a pricing and availability standpoint to take advantage of the channel and the top seller models that we have in the channel, and then leverage either leverage D&H, or they could buy the components and put them together themselves. But there is a pricing and availability and a speed to market. It's just the benefit in that alone to be able to take advantage of the inventory that D&H has. So.
And we are stocking the PCIe adapters, the M.2s that go along with the P330, so we keep those stocks so we can get them out to you real quick, so there's none of the CTO layovers.
Yeah, top seller is the way to go.
Absolutely.
And on larger rollouts, we do have the ability to asset laser etch the devices, do green shipping if you're taking 30 and putting it into an area that really can't accept a pallet full of laptops. We can do green shipping, and all they're getting is a box with the laptops and all the stuff as well. So
great.
Justin, Mike, thank you so much for joining me. You guys were absolutely fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you.
If you guys have any questions, if you're viewing this on demand and you'd like to reach out to us, Lenovo Specialist at dnh.com or SolutionsLab at dnh.com. We'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. With that, thanks for joining us. You guys have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.